I've been in healthcare for 35 years. Nothing has ever moved me as much as ALS. Nothing has ever moved me as much as the residents. And whenever I'm having a difficult day, for whatever reason, I just go upstairs and I see Steve and I see Jack and I see the other folks who live in that house, living their lives independent, with dignity and such caring caregivers with them, and it makes everything worthwhile. And when I said earlier that Chris Stevens was our new best friend, I said it before he just announced to me that for the ALS Residents Initiative, he is kicking off our campaign with a $100,000 check. This went from my new best friend to my new very best friend. At this point, I like that too. Good. Oh, good. I'll hire you as my agent then. At this point, I would like to turn the mic over to our hero. He's everything to us. Chris walks into this building, and we become alive. We become empowered because we know we have him here with us. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Chris Stevens.
How you holding up, big fella? You doing all right? It's a pretty good day, huh? This morning started with Governor Deval Patrick and his cabinet having a meeting here, taking the time to come to this wonderful residence. And he didn't do a drive-by. He got here for an 8 o'clock cabinet meeting and then spent over an hour in the residence with Steve, with Jack, with the other residents there, and with many of those who were gathered. And I'm a firm believer everything starts with a dream. I think dreams are really important. You all know the name Susan Boyle? She had a dream. She had a dream she wanted to become a recording artist. And before she could even open her mouth, she was almost laughed off the stage on a national TV show in Great Britain. And then she opened her mouth and jaws dropped. And she's living her dream. My partners and I had a dream about 15 years ago. We were in a watch factory in Waltham, Massachusetts, with a dream of changing the coffee world one perfect cup at a time. So we came up with the idea of Keurig, and we're very, very blessed to kind of be living our dream right now too. Sometimes dreams happen because you want something to happen, and sometimes they are born out of circumstance. Steve's dream was born out of circumstance. One day a pencil dropped out of his left hand and he wasn't able to pick it up as he used to. And he started to notice something different in how he was able to hold his muscles and everything. And before you know it, after everything else was ruled out, Steve was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. Many people cannot pronounce it, but if you ever develop it or you know somebody in your family has it, ALS becomes more of a demonic expression than IRS or KKK or any other acronym. Steve's dream, though, was to still be able to live a full life. And he was committed to that dream, and that's how the residence was born. Because many ALS patients have to, as Barry alluded to, sleep on their backs. They're in hospices, they're in residences where there's no real care given. They're kept alive, and it's a very difficult disease in that you lose control of all your involuntary muscles, but you retain all the feelings, you retain all the senses, and you retain your total mind and intellect. So Steve decided he wanted to do something with that, and the ALS residence here was born. And he met Barry Berman. And they always say that there's three kinds of people in this world. Those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wonder what happened. When Barry and Steve together, they made things happen. I got an email a couple of years ago from a buddy of mine that said that a friend of ours from Notre Dame, where I went to school and played ball, had ALS and was trying to raise money for the disease, and he had a website. And I remember him only as a little 5'6" bartender where we used to hang out because he used to give us all free beers. I didn't even know he went to Notre Dame. I just thought he was a bartender. Well, when I went to his website and read his story, and it's an amazing one. If you all know the story of Rudy, I know her name. Well, this guy takes Rudy and multiplies it times 1,000. And he lived an amazing life. So I had lost my wife to cancer and both my brothers to Huntington's disease in the same year. Huntington's is a neuromuscular sibling of ALS. And I never knew really what to do kind of with that grief. But when I sent an email to Jimmy, he bounced me back and said, Hawk, you got to write my life story. I said, dude, I'm not a writer, I got a startup company, etc. So to make a long story short, I thought it would be a way for me to be able to process my grief, and along that journey and meeting Jimmy and spending time with him and learning about his amazing life and how when he was diagnosed, he committed to raising $1 million for research. And up to that point, he'd raised about $350,000. So the book is intended to try to be able to help him fulfill his dream. 100% of all the proceeds go to ALS. It's called Fighting to Give, and it's on Amazon.com. And it was through that book that I got to meet Steve and Barry. And I came over here and I saw as the residence was kind of in its final stages of being built, and I thought, wow, this is something I need to be involved in. It reminded me of the story that when you're in breakfast, you look down at the ham and eggs and encouraged you that the chicken was involved in the breakfast, but the pig was committed. So I thought either I could be involved in the residence or I could be committed. So I chose the person to commit. And, you know, there's really two key things that need to be done with ALS until the cure is found. Steve so eloquently puts it that technology is the cure until medicine finds the way, or something like that. I probably butchered it, Steve, but you get the idea. So it's critical that we continue to fund research, and Deborah Sharp is here from the Mass chapter, and Jane Gilbert, the president of ALS nationally, is here. And the money that they provide, millions of dollars towards research, will help us one day find the way. Tuberculosis had its day. Smallpox had its day. One day, ALS will have its day, and we will find a cure. But in the meantime, since the average ALS patient lives 3 to 5 years, and they lose their ability to be able to take care of themselves independently, we must continue to invest in technology in ways to allow them to live a quality life. Stephen Hawking, the great physicist, has lived many, many years and made incredible contributions. And I would submit to you, as Steve will tell you probably himself, that since he was developed this disease, his ability to be able to give back and to contribute to the quality of other people's lives may have surpassed what he did as an outstanding architect. Vince Lombardi said, the quality of a man's life is in direct proportion to his commitment to excellence, regardless of his chosen field endeavor. Steve was an excellent architect, landscape architect, and I would submit to you he's become an excellent humanitarian for us all. So without further ado, what I'd love to be able to do is allow you to learn a little more about the disease, the Mass chapter, and the national chapter of ALS, and then you'll hear from Steve himself. So with that, Deborah Sharp, the president of the Mass chapter of ALS.
My very best friend. That's very generous. Thank you so much.